Well, Jeremy, it is a big week this week for the Oklahoma Sooners. And it's basically a playoff week. It's not do or die because I think the Sooners theoretically could get in with 3 losses. But after watching LSU Alabama this past weekend and seeing the result of Texas A&M Missouri, I am growing more and more confident that an Alabama victory, or at least showing up and looking pretty decent against the Crimson Tide, could be the ticket to the Sooners getting to the college football playoff. What are you thinking about that game? OU versus Alabama, Saturday at 2:30.
Well, I'm afraid that I think it is a must-win for OU if they want to keep that hope alive. 3-loss team. If you're on the downhill snide, I think that is a recipe for disaster. You know, they do look at the more recent play, unfortunately, as opposed to, you got the whole season package, but the most recent play. So if they lose this one, they would be teetering on that borderline. It's going to be a tough game, but in Alabama, a must win. Your backs are against the wall if you want to make that playoff. What are their chances of making the SEC championship game? Is there still a path to that?
I have heard no conversation about that. I would have to presume it is 0.
Well, the reason why I ask is you could backdoor your way into the playoff if you can get to that game and win it and sneak in. And I think probably because the 12-team playoff now, that's why no one's really talking about it, because conference championships are nice. But in football in particular, everybody wants that national title. Winning the SEC, winning the Big 12, those type of things are great, but everybody wants that national title. And so winning the conference is now no longer as important as what it used to be. And so that's why I think that OU, if OU wins, I could see them getting in. If OU loses, then I'm telling you, it's going to come down to those last couple of games, and they're going to have to win big. They're going to have to put on a show to try and maintain that ranking, because you got teams, you got your teams sliding through. Indiana survived a tough matchup, a couple things like that. And there could be some other teams start to sneak in. There could be a Big 12 team sneak in, depending on what happens with BYU. So,
well, and Notre Dame, greatest team ever.
Greatest team ever, Notre Dame. Absolutely.
I mean,
possibly gotten that.
Oh, right. I think possibly the greatest team ever. Don't need Knute Rockne.
Right. We'll have to run the numbers.
So I'm looking at the SEC standings right now. You got Texas A&M and Alabama atop at 6-0. Don't give me the lion. I don't know how the East and West is divided. Whatever. But you got 6-0 Texas A&M, 6-0 Alabama, 6-1 Georgia, 5-1 Mississippi, 4-1 Texas, 4-2 Vandy, 3-2 Oklahoma. Yeah, it's only a couple of losses difference, but there's so many teams in between. I mean, if I'm the Sooners, the thought of an SEC title game, so many things would have to happen for that. So the best path for Oklahoma is just win out.
Well, right. And considering who the losses are to, Mississippi and Texas, that definitely throws a much harder path to get to that SEC championship game. But you're right. If you win out, if OU wins out, they have an absolute legitimate shot to be in that top 12. And if they can beat Alabama and those remaining teams, I think they should be. But you're right. Win and you're in. Basically, win and you're in.
If they win out, they will be one of the hotter teams in the country at that point.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
And you mentioned needing to put on a show if they lost to Alabama, needing to put on a show against Missouri and then LSU. For the Sooners, them putting on a show, that's going to be on defense. And I think it's one of the, whether or not Oklahoma's the best defensive team in the country, what we saw from R. Mason Thomas holding that guy off with his arm and running that fumble back for a touchdown.
What a play.
What a play. They need R. Mason Thomas. I saw a report where he was asked about his availability for this weekend, and he said, we'll see. That doesn't encourage me a ton, but I think it's vital for R. Mason Thomas to be playing in Tuscaloosa Saturday.
Well, you have to understand though, his coaches might have said, "Don't say anything." It could be this is part of that game, that gamesmanship, I guess would be a better way to say it, where we have a legitimate injury, but we don't have to tell you all of the details on that. And we could list these questionable, and everybody's questionable almost at this point. Anyway, really.
I'm questionable day to day.
100% day to day. But I mean, so he might have been told, don't give away the goose, what's going on here. And so, and that doesn't necessarily mean that he's 100% in or 100% out. We don't know. But what I'm saying is you can't necessarily get a vibe from that, because as we know, coaches play games. They have their student athletes play games along those lines. And the least amount of information you can give your opponent, the better.
We have watched sports together since I've known you, since 15, 16 years old, 40 years. How much can you read into a 20-9 win? How much does that translate to this week? Because when I see Alabama only scoring 20 points, I'm like, they scored 20 points on LSU. How are they going to score 10 on Oklahoma?
Well, unfortunately, I don't think at this day and time, I don't think there is translation across. I think there are matchups, and some matchups are better than other matchups, right? Sometimes in basketball, for example, team A can beat team B every time because of the style. Team B can beat team C every time, but team C always beats team A. And it's just those matchups, those styles. And so that's what OU has to contend with this week is, do they have the same style of defense that LSU had to hold them to 20, or can they improve upon that and get it lower than that? And so I'm not sure you can translate anything from last week to this week. Now, when it comes to injuries and trends, maybe, but in a one game encapsulation, I don't think you can. I think you kind of have to look at the overall season. And again, with OU's defense, with some of the players possibly being out or not, that's going to play a huge factor on if he comes back. OU defense is significantly improved just by one player.
And that with R. Mason Thomas back, Venables will be more likely to call blitzes and allow R. Mason Thomas to do his own thing. Because R. Mason Thomas, if you've watched a lot of the Sooners games, likes to line up to the outside when he's coming after you. He's almost always offside. He's like teetering because he wants just that edge. But when he comes up there, if you're a quarterback, if you're Ty Simpson, Alabama quarterback, you have to be thinking, holy crap, I don't want to be seeing that for 4 quarters on Saturday. So it'd be huge to have him back.
Well, for OU, absolutely. And if you're Alabama, you don't want that because he is just an absolute disruptor. I mean, in the passing game in particular, but just an absolute disruptor on that defensive line. Coming off the edge like that, absolutely. That's how he got that incredible play, making that happen, a one-man band on that deal. So if you're Bama, though, you coach around that. You coach like he's going to be there. You prepare like he's going to be there. Because if it's the second team guy, well, you're prepared for the first team guy, so you're better off. And if the first team guy is there, then clearly you prepared for the best. And so, that's where you're talking about draw plays, little screen plays, maybe some bubble screens to kind of relieve some of that pressure, run right at him. Sometimes, the coaches, Alabama coaches know what they're doing. They don't need my advice, but
it makes we played video games. It makes a lot of sense. I mean, that stuff does.
You played the coaches in flag football in your junior year of high school.
Did we ever? I remember you made a preacher cuss once.
I did.
Yeah.
God bless America.
Yeah, good times. So we're not making our official picks on this show, but it's Alabama's a 6.5 point favorite. We'll think about it. I do think OU's going to be in this game. Whether they win, we'll get to that in another video. So for right now, let's just wrap a bow on OU versus Alabama.
Okay.